The Spanish Inquisition, a term evoking images of torture, religious fanaticism, and societal control, remains one of history's most infamous institutions. But the reality behind the terror is far more nuanced and complex than popular portrayals often suggest. Established in 1478 by Catholic monarchs Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I, the Inquisition wasn't a sudden eruption of cruelty, but rather the culmination of centuries of existing efforts to maintain religious purity within their kingdoms. Prior to its formal establishment, Spain had a long history of religious diversity, including a significant Jewish population, the Sephardim, and a substantial Muslim community, the Moriscos, both of which had contributed significantly to the Iberian Peninsula's cultural and economic flourishing. However, this coexistence was increasingly threatened by factors like the Reconquista, the centuries-long effort to reclaim Spain from Muslim rule, and growing anti-Semitism throughout Europe, fueled by religious dogma and economic resentment. The Reconquista wasn't merely a religious war. It was intertwined with political ambition, territorial expansion, and the desire for a unified Christian kingdom. And as Christian territories expanded, the fate of non-Christians became a pressing concern. Initially, the monarchs sought to address the issue of insincere conversions, fearing conversos, Jews who had converted to Christianity, and Moriscos, Muslims who had converted to Christianity, were secretly practicing their former faiths, undermining the religious unity of their realms. The initial appeals to the papacy for establishing a tribunal to investigate these cases were met with resistance, as Pope Sixtus IV feared it would destabilize relations with other kingdoms and raise concerns about the Church's authority. Undeterred, Ferdinand and Isabella obtained a papal bull in 1478, authorizing them to establish the Inquisition in their kingdoms, bypassing the direct control of Rome and granting them significant autonomy. The first tribunals were established in cities like Seville, Cordoba, and Jaén, areas with large populations of conversos, and their primary focus initially was on identifying and punishing those suspected of practicing crypto-Judaism or crypto-Islam. The Inquisition structure differed significantly from the earlier Papal Inquisition, which operated directly under the control of the papacy. The Spanish Inquisition was a royal institution, funded and controlled by the crown, with the monarchs playing a direct role in its operations. The inquisitors were usually Dominican or Franciscan friars, selected for their theological knowledge and perceived zeal, and they were granted broad powers to investigate, interrogate, and judge suspected heretics. The process of investigation began with denunciations, accusations made by informants, often motivated by personal grievances, economic competition, or religious fanaticism, creating a climate of fear and suspicion within communities. Suspects were summoned for questioning, and if deemed likely to have committed heresy, they were subjected to rigorous interrogation, often involving psychological pressure, threats of torture, and isolation from family and friends. Torture, though not employed in every case, was authorized and utilized as a means of obtaining confessions, and while regulations existed regarding its application, they were often disregarded, leading to brutal and inhumane treatment. The auto da fe, a public ceremony of penance and punishment, was a central feature of the Inquisition, and it served as a spectacle of religious authority, demonstrating the consequences of heresy and reinforcing societal control. Punishments varied depending on the severity of the offense, ranging from fines and public penance to imprisonment, and in the most severe cases, execution by burning at the stake. Confiscation of property was another key aspect of the Inquisition, and it enriched the crown and the inquisitors, providing a financial incentive for investigations and prosecutions. The Inquisition wasn't solely focused on conversos and moriscos. It also targeted other forms of religious dissent, including Protestants, humanists, and those accused of witchcraft or blasphemy. The Spanish Inquisition reached its peak intensity during the 16th and 17th centuries, fueled by the Protestant Reformation and the growing threat of religious upheaval throughout Europe. The expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492, following the completion of the Reconquista, was a direct consequence of the religious policies implemented by Ferdinand and Isabella and the climate of fear and suspicion created by the Inquisition. Similarly, the Moriscos were subjected to increasingly restrictive policies and were ultimately expelled from Spain in the early 17th century, devastating the country's agricultural economy. The number of victims of the Spanish Inquisition remains a contentious topic, with estimates ranging from a few thousand to over 100,000, and accurate figures are difficult to obtain due to incomplete records and biased sources. However, even the lower estimates demonstrate the significant impact of the Inquisition on Spanish society, with thousands of individuals subjected to investigation, imprisonment, torture, and execution. The Inquisition's legacy extends beyond the immediate suffering of its victims. It fostered a culture of fear, suspicion, and intolerance that permeated Spanish society for centuries. The Spanish Inquisition also played a role in shaping Spain's political and economic development, contributing to the country's centralization of power and its decline in economic competitiveness. The institution was officially abolished in 1834, but its impact on Spanish culture and identity continues to be felt today, and it remains a subject of intense historical debate and scrutiny. Modern scholarship has moved beyond simplistic portrayals of the Inquisition as a purely religious institution, recognizing its complex interplay with political, economic, and social factors. The myth of the Black Legend, the domination of Spain and its institutions by its European rivals, played a significant role in shaping negative perceptions of the Inquisition and exaggerating its cruelty. It's crucial to understand the historical context in which the Inquisition emerged and operated, recognizing the religious beliefs, political ambitions, and social anxieties that drove its actions. While the Inquisition undoubtedly caused immense suffering and injustice, it wasn't solely responsible for Spain's problems, and its impact must be considered alongside other factors. Ultimately, the Spanish Inquisition serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of religious fanaticism, the abuse of power, and the importance of protecting individual rights and freedoms.